What's up, people? I haven't done a video in a minute, so figured I'd do a video. The last one I put up, it was an old video of me and Nate Dogg. His uncle had died, and we went over to, the landlord wanted us to set bug bombs off, and that was quite an episode. We just screwed up real bad. We're in there breathing bug foggers. Somebody left me a nice comment saying what a bunch of losers or something. But I believe in freedom of speech, so that person has the right to say whatever, you know. But it got me thinking about what is a loser, what's a winner. She looked like a young, attractive young lady. A lot of people nowadays, I don't know, I guess what's a loser and what's a success depends on who you talk to, I guess, you know. Most of my life I was a loser. I made some bad choices in my life. Some real bad choices. And because of those choices, I ended up locked up a lot of my life and on drugs a lot of my life, and both of those things is most definitely being a loser, that's for sure. I can't argue that. I was arrested and went to prison in 1991, and that's the last time I was ever arrested. I have not been arrested for anything since 1991. And believe it or not, that's blowing the recidivism rate straight out of the water. That shows change. I still have friends that they're in and out, man. I mean, like a revolving door. They're out for a minute and then they go back. I don't know. What is a loser and what is a winner? At that time of my life, I was a loser. I would consider being locked up and doing drugs and the things I was involved in, I would most definitely consider that being a loser. But I have recovered nicely. I asked my stepbrother one time, I said, what do you think's harder? Honest. And see, my brothers, you know, we don't get along too great, but one thing I can always count on with my brothers, same with me, is if you ask them a question, they'll always give you the truth. What they honestly think. And, you know, I said, what do you think's harder, doing right your whole life or being as far gone as I was, as lost as I was, and coming back, you know, changing your life? And he said, most definitely being as far lost as you were and changing your life. And the crazy thing about that is he don't even know how far lost I was. He's got they saw the surface. I wasn't around my family much, so they just saw the surface of what was going on. There's a lot of things that they don't know, and I hope they never do know. That's like, you know, me and Amy come back from Arizona, and me and her and my son Josh, he's moved out now, but at the time Josh was 16, and we went over to Eric and Troy's, and they said, Troy come up to me. He had been drinking for a couple days. I don't drink anymore. I'm an asshole when I drink. It's instant asshole, just add alcohol. I get rattlesnake mean when I drink. But Troy come up to me and he said, man, you remember that time in the bar you fucking cut that dude and they had to hold his guts in? Well, I had completely forgotten about that. But my son's standing right there. And whenever he said it, I remembered it. It's not something I'm proud of. The guy pulled a knife out on me over a $2 pool game. Lousy $2. And he decided to pull a knife out on me. And that's what I was known for, was knives. I was a knife smith. And I used to carry a butterfly on my right side, right by my hip in my pant line. And then I carried a straight razor on my left side. It was an old hollow cord German straight razor. And then in my sock, I always, because we used to wear the socks up higher when I was younger, I always had a boot knife. That night I got beat by that motorcycle club. I started carrying weapons. I figured before I'm ever in that situation again, I'll try to stab somebody up. But I come across with that straight razor, and it was cold out. He had on a t-shirt and a flannel shirt, and he grabbed his stomach and went down, and I didn't think I got him that bad. As a matter of fact, that's why I quit carrying straight razors. I figure you don't hit somebody with the straight razor unless you're intending to kill them, you know. And it's not smart to. I was an arrogant son of a bitch. I'd dance around dudes and leave cuts on their faces, something to remember me by. But I come across that straight razor and everybody's around them, and I went up to get my beer. I had a pitcher of beer up on the bar, and the owner come up to me. He said, Mark, you need to get out of here. And I said, what do you mean I need to get out of here? I got a full pitcher of beer. He said, this damn thing. He said, they're holding his guts in. His intestines, it wasn't a real big cut, but apparently your intestines are under quite a bit of pressure, and his guts were trying to come out. But that's why I quit carrying straight razors. It was because of that specific evening. But I had forgotten all about it. There's all kinds of stuff I had forgotten about. Some good, some bad. A good one, well, it's not good, but it is good. Whenever I got back, I was still on the pain meds, and my buddy had a script he was getting filled, and the old Antique House Tavern was right across the street, and I said, hey man, I'm gonna go over to the Antique House and get a Bud Long Neck. This was like 10 years ago or so, but I go across the street, and I walked in, and there was just a barmaid in there. It was pretty early in the day. And I said, I said, my name's Mark Volkerding. I just got back from Arizona, but I used to live here. And I said, let me get a Bud Long Neck. And she goes, I know who you are. Well, when people say that, it's either real good or it's real bad. So immediately I'm like, oh shit, you know. And she goes, we got in a car wreck while you were driving and I was in the car. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, you know. And I didn't remember her. I didn't remember no car wreck. And then she goes, no, don't be sorry. Now I'm interested. You know, you're telling me we got in a car wreck while I was driving, and then you said, don't be sorry. You know, so I said, what do you mean, don't be sorry? She said, it was you and Dennis. I'm not going to say his last name. She said, I was driving. Dennis was in the passenger seat. And she said there was another guy in the back seat, and she was hitchhiking. Well, I picked her up, and she got in the back seat. And as she's telling me this story, it's all coming back to me. I'm remembering it. She said, there was a guy in the back seat. She didn't know who he was, and to this day, I don't know who he was. I can remember his face, and I remember being hostile with him, but I couldn't tell you his name. I really couldn't. I had a duster, a red duster, and she said he kept grabbing on her breast and her crotch, and she'd start screaming, telling him to stop. She said, you told him 2 times to stop. The 3rd time he grabbed me, she said she started yelling again, and she said, you just completely forgot you were driving. You turned around and started punching him in the face. And she's right, I did. And that's how I lost my duster, because the car went off the road and we hit a telephone pole right in front of McDonald's on West Main and North Belt. And I was pissed because we hit it hard enough that it drove the fan up into my radiator. And she goes, then you got really mad. And I drug the guy out of the back seat into the suicide lane and was stomping on his face, kept saying, look what you made me do. And he's unconscious, and I was still stomping on his face. And I just left the car there. I didn't wait for no police or no tow truck. I mean, that's bad, what I did to him. But it's good because my mother was raped when I was a kid. I'm the son of a rape victim. And you don't do that shit, grabbing on a woman around me. It's not going to go over real well with me. I've said it before. A man penetrates. A woman has to open up and let a man in. And when anybody takes by force, whether it's male, female, whoever, I'm not down with that. And she said I told him 2 times, and I did. That's how bad my temper was. I just completely stopped driving, turned around, and started beating on this guy, and the car went off the road, and we hit a telephone pole. It was for the right reasons. He shouldn't have been grabbing on her like that. But I could have got us all really hurt because I didn't control my temper. I mean, most people, they get mad and they're driving, they keep driving. Whenever I say that I was out there, I mean, I was out there. I was lost. I got so bad at one point that, you know, all the places my mom put me trying to get me help, I used to read and study psychology. Not because I was interested in what my mental health problems might be, but because I wanted to know what the psychiatrists were doing, where they were trying to go. And I'd play head games with them. Like the blotter charts, showing you the ink blotters. I got tired of it. They keep asking you the same shit over and over and over. So every time they do the ink bladder test with me, any doctor, I would tell them, I'd say, it's upside down. It's symmetrical. Whether it's upside down or straight side up, it's the exact same thing. But I would insist it was upside down. And I wouldn't tell them what I saw until they flipped it the way I wanted it flipped. And I did that just to mess with them because they asked the same questions over and over. But, you know, I was so out there, and I was so violent, and I did not feel bad about the things I did. Like that guy, I didn't feel bad about stomping his head in. I've done some terrible things to people and in anger, you know. And I was really starting to think, oh my God, you might be a sociopath. Because I didn't have regrets or remorse for hurting people. That's why collecting money for the dope dealer was a good job for me. I could pound on somebody, get it out of my system, and I didn't feel bad about it. Until I found God. That's how I tell people all the time, that's how I know that there's a God. I went from pretty much having no conscience. The only thing that was safe around me was a child. That was it. Man, woman, you pissed me off, I didn't care. I'd swing for the fences. Sometimes I'd win, sometimes I'd lose. It's like my mom, she kept a lot of shit from them places I was in. And the one counselor there, she said, Mark becomes violent when he's faced with a no-win situation or when it's a convenient way to get his point across. And that's pretty much it. We might get in a verbal argument, but if I start losing that argument, I go to fist. I was not a nice person, to say the least. One of my charges when I went to prison was heinous battery. Well, they were talking attempted murder. They reduced it down to heinous. The guy's eyeball was hanging out of his head when the police come. I was on top of him trying to pop his eyeball. Cops are hitting me with nightsticks and I'm trying to punch this dude's eyeball and pop it. And I had on steel-toe boots. He punched my buddy Tom's wife. You know, the proper thing to do in that situation, he punched my friend's wife, would have been to take him down and restrain him. But this guy was out. And I was kicking him in the face with steel-toe boots. And what I did is I crushed his orbital socket. And his eye was literally hanging out of his head. The only way I could describe it, it looked like it was hanging from an umbilical cord. It's the only way I can describe it. And I'm getting hit with nightsticks because I'm still on top of him trying to pop his eyeball. Now, all those things I just described to you are the actions of a loser. That's a fact. Those are the actions of a loser. To me, that's what a loser is. Now, since 1991, I got arrested. It's the last time I got arrested, and that was for robbing Lloyd's Texaco gas station. Again, another action of a loser. I did my prison time. I got out. I have not been back since. I raised my 4 children, and I broke the cycle with my children. My children got to grow up seeing a man and woman love each other. They didn't have to deal with the violence in the house that I had to deal with. I broke the chain. It ended. I was the last one to have to deal with that because I didn't put my kids through that kind of shit. Didn't put my hands on my wife. I love my wife. I cherished my wife. I worked my ass off. And I raised 4 kids. That don't sound like much, but to me, that's a winner. A lot of guys run out on their kids, and they don't stick around. I stayed, and I raised my kids. And by the grace of God, none of them's been in prison, none of them's been in jail, none of them's on drugs. They all work, they pay taxes, and they're productive members of society with a lot of help from God and a good wife. But that's a winner. A man that goes to work every day and works till it hurts and raises his children, doesn't cheat on his wife, keeps his hands off of her, don't get physical with her. That's a winner. I never got a lot of money in my life. You know, I never really cared about money. Actually, I wish I would have cared a little more. Money never really mattered to me. And a lot of people, they judge success on how much money you have, what kind of car you drive, what kind of house you have. Do you have those designer clothes? A lot of people do. My family does. You know, it depends on how big your portfolio is, you know. But me, I don't consider that a winner. You've done well for yourself if you're making a lot of money like that. But when you die and when you close your eyes, you can't take a penny of that with you. Not one penny. Not the cars, not the house, not the clothes, none of it. All you take with you when you leave this world is the lives you've touched, the memories in your mind and in other people's minds of you. And I've touched a lot of lives. I've been there. When it comes to loyalty, I am a friend that a friend would want to have. I'm loyal to my friends. I'm loyal to people I don't know. Before my breathing got real bad, a couple times a year I'd take a homeless person home, give them a night off the bricks, you know, because I've been there. So I don't know, it just got me thinking about what a winner and a loser is. There's a guy, I haven't been on YouTube a lot lately, but he has a channel, and he was born with fetal alcohol syndrome. His mother drank alcohol heavily the whole time she was pregnant with him. And his ears are like down on his neck. It almost looks like he has fish gills. And the first time I watched one of his videos, I was foaming at the mouth like a rabid dog. You would not believe the cruel, and I mean cruel, things that people were saying to him. It was heartbreaking, the things they were saying. And it made me angry. I wanted to get my hands on some of them people that were saying those cruel things to him. Because, and the guy's probably one of the most Christ-like examples I've seen of turning the other cheek. Never once did I see him respond in anger. I believe anger comes from pain, whether it's physical pain or mental. You stub your toe at night, getting out of bed, going to the bathroom, you stub your toe. It hurts. You want to punch the wall and drive your fist right through the wall. Somebody says something to us that's hurtful. The first reaction, for me, I don't know about other people, but the first instinct is to strike back. Because it hurt us, Whether people want to admit it or not, what all human beings want, we're very social creatures. And what all human beings want is to simply be loved and accepted. And, it's just, some people, there's a lot of people who are very vain. And they're beautiful people. As far as our society says. And they spend all the time and they spend a lot of money on outward appearance, being beautiful. But just like the money, that beauty's gonna fade. One thing that is true is we're all going to, if you're lucky enough and live long enough, you will get old and you will lose that youthful outer beauty. And I don't know nothing about the young lady that said me and Nate were losers. She looked like she wasn't missing no meals. She's a very pretty young lady. And I don't like grouping a whole group of people, together, like saying, oh, well, young people nowadays, blah, blah, blah. I don't like doing that. Each person should be judged different, independently, and I don't know enough about this young lady to judge her. But she was a very pretty young lady. My daughter's her age. My daughter's older than her. My daughter's 34, and I don't know, she didn't look 34, but my eyes are bad too. You can't see those little icon, little circle things on YouTube very well. Come on over, dude. Come on. I'll let you in. They hit me in the rear end, it's going to be their ass, not mine. I don't know what she was doing down in East St. Louis anyways with them out-of-state tags. Messing around in the wrong neighborhood there, bub. But, the outer beauty fades. And I've known some women and some young ladies that's all they focused on was that outer beauty. And if you're blessed enough to live long enough, if all you worry about is how you appear on the outside and not what's on the inside, then someday you're going to be ugly on the outside and ugly on the inside. Inner beauty. Inner beauty is the only beauty that gets more beautiful as you age. To me, I'm just saying what I think a winner is. I think, to sum it all up, I think a winner, whatever you are in life, not everybody can be wealthy. I mean, there's poor people, there's middle class people, There's wealthy people, and then there's just off the charts, got more money than they can spend people. But it's like, one thing I noticed being locked up a lot, black men, they could sing. I've heard some black guys in the county jail that could sing. I mean, sing. And the one guy, I said, man, what the fuck are you doing in here? You sing as good as anybody I've heard on the radio. And what he said to me was, there ain't room up top for everybody. And he's right. There ain't. Same with money. Not everybody in this world's going to have a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of money. My first pair of Nike Air Jordans, I didn't have a pair of them till my kids moved out of the house. We made sure that our children had better shoes than I did on my feet. I made sure that their clothes were better than mine. I made sure that the mattress they were laying on was better than the one I was laying on. Once they moved out, I got a pair of Air Jordans. And to tell you the truth, I wasn't that damn impressed. Maybe other Nikes that, aren't high tops, maybe they're more comfortable. But I just wanted to see what it was like having a decent pair of shoes on my feet, But I gotta say, the best pair of shoes I ever owned in my life, hands down, I bought a pair of Red Wing work boots. And Red Wings are very expensive work boots. But I bought a nice pair of Red Wing work boots because my doctor suggested it. I was a roofer my whole life. We would go in with tear-off shovels. We'd put our tarps up around the ground, and we would start tearing the shingles off with tear-off shovels. Any bad wood, we'd replace it, and then we would drip edge and felt the roof. We'd drip edge it first, then we would felt it, and then after we did that, we would lay new shingles. Sometimes you get you're not supposed to put more than 2 layers of shingles on your roof. But believe me, I have pulled more than 2 layers of shingles off the roof. Or even worse, some of the jobs we did down in St. Louis, you had cedar shake roofs with slate underneath the cedar shake. And then, Jesus, man, these roads are bad over here. Illinois tax dollars hard at work. But, it's just, let me turn the seat down too. I'm getting hot. Can't see shit. I worked my ass off. My father was a union carpenter. And he said to me one time, he said, Mark, I don't know how you and your friends roofed all them years. He said, you couldn't pay me enough money to be a roofer. My buddy Tom come out and stayed with me and Amy for a while in Arizona. He said he was having problems, wanted to get his head right. I got him a job working with me 2 different places. Halfway through the day, he said, I don't know how you do this, man. It's too fucking hot out here. I said, Tom, I don't do it because I enjoy it or because I like it. I do it because I have 4 children depending on me for food, clothing, and a roof over their head. And a wife. I don't go to work and kill myself because I enjoy it. I do it because I have a family. And not being able to feed my children is unacceptable to me. That's the only movie I never could get through. only one movie in my life that I can't watch all the way through. And it's Will Smith's In the Pursuit of Happiness. It gets to that part where he's in the bathroom with his kid and the guy's beating on the door, and I can't watch it. It's too much for me. I've been homeless. I was probably spent 2-3 years of my life homeless. But it was just me. All I had to worry about was taking care of myself, feeding myself. I can't imagine being on the streets with your child. That is just a nightmare to me. A serious fucking nightmare. That's the only movie I've never been able to watch the whole movie. It tears my heart out. Thinking about what a father would feel sleeping in a public restroom with his child. It's too much for me. But I guess to me, if I had to say, yes, I was most definitely a loser when I was younger. I was an angry kid. I was abused. I was angry. And I was hurt. And I did not deal with that positively. I drank. I fought. Violence was an emotion I was very used to. I don't like hurt. None of us do. I was real good at taking all that hurt and pain I felt and converting it into anger. But I recovered nicely. Oh shit. I guess I'm going straight. I was going to turn, but nope, not going to. I got a green light here, lady. What I think a winner is somebody, it doesn't matter how much money you got. To me, it doesn't matter. What matters is, do you try? Do you do your best? My best might not be as good as somebody watching this video's best at certain things. I might be better at some things than some people. But am I doing my best? Every day, am I getting up and doing my best? To me, a person that does that, a person that takes on their responsibilities and doesn't push it off on other people, a person that when they do wrong, they own it and don't push it off on other people. Are you kind to other human beings? Do you accept other human beings that aren't as good looking as you or as smart as you or have as much money? I know when I was homeless, most people won't even make eye contact with you. They just walk by you like you're not even there. My life started out rough. Real rough. And I made it worse by dealing with things negatively. And I ended up going to prison in my early 20s in 1991. I got out of prison and I raised 4 children. I've been married 29 years. If I make it one more year, I'll have 30 years with the same woman. I have never cheated on her. I have never put my hands on her. I have loved her more than most people will love anybody in their entire life. She's my best friend. I have cherished her, loved her, and never, ever did I take her for granted. I think that's why I'm with her. You know, I know what I get out of being with my wife. She's a wonderful human being. And I've asked her, I said, you know, why do you love me? And she goes, well, you love me. Well, shit. I said, Amy, the devil could love you. I mean, my wife's easy to love. It don't take no work to love my wife. It's easy to love her. But I think maybe the good Lord put us together. He knew that she would teach me how to love again. And he knew that I would, God, man, these roads are bad. God knew that I would never take advantage of her. My wife's the type of person, it's what other people want. She always puts other people before herself. And there's a lot of men that would meet a woman like that and just run wild with it. I never took her for granted. When me and my wife argue, it's like Heckle and Jekyll. I'll be trying to do something for her, she'll be trying to do something with me. It's like, you first. Oh, no, you go first. No, I insist, you first, you know. I didn't, as a younger man, never in a million years did I dream for even a slight second that I would be in a relationship with a woman as loving as the relationship me and my wife have. All my children, their friends, everybody that knows us, they're like, man, you and Amy, man, we really do have something special. And it's because both of us love the other more than we love ourselves. We didn't get married and think it was going to be like a Disney movie. We knew there was going to be hard times, and we're in for the long haul. We're 100% devoted to each other. Some things I'm good at, some things she's good at. When I was a kid, the men handled all the money. Not in our relationship. I get my check, I hand it straight to my wife. Because I am terrible with money. Terrible. My wife can manage money, I can't. And to each their own, you know. I have a friend down in Mexico. And the Mexican culture is a little different. The men are still men down in Mexico, let me tell you. A man in Mexico prides himself on working hard to support his wife and children. A man in Mexico that isn't working and supporting his wife and children, he would be huge. He'd just be so ashamed of himself, and people would look down on him. He'd be a pinchy huevon, just a freeloader, worthless, you know. Mexican men, they got that macho, you know, the manly man thing going on. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But the reason I was telling you that, my friend Audrey, she lives in Mexico City. And me and her were talking one day, and I was doing the dishes. Oh my goodness, you should have seen the look on her daughter's face, little Renata. And she hadn't seen a man do dishes. And she found that strange that I'm sitting there doing dishes, you know. And I told her, you know, me and my wife, something needs to be done. We pick up the slack, you know. Just because I'm a man, that don't mean that I won't do dishes. You know, we take turns. But to me, a winner is, are you kind to people? Do you treat people good? Uh, do you try to help other people? Do you take care of your responsibilities? Do you raise your children? Do you, whatever your responsibility is in life, do you do it to the best of your ability? Um, are you hurting other people? You know, are you making your money legally? Do you have a lot of inner beauty? Are you somebody that whenever you get older and your outer beauty fades, are you still going to shine bright? Because you're a loving, caring person. To me, all those things are a winner. I've been in gang fights. I've been in fights in prison, on the streets. I don't even know how many fights I've been in. My body is a wreck. But that's not the tough guy. To me, the tough guy, the badass, is the man that gets up every damn day, puts on his work boots, whether that's going to work at a construction site or working in an office building. He puts on his work clothes and he goes to work and does his shitty job that he can't stand so he can feed his children and put a roof over their head and take care of them. That's a badass. It takes more consistency to do that than any damn fight I ever been in. It's harder to do that than to fight or cut somebody with a knife or shoot at somebody. Any damn fool can pull a trigger on a gun. And just so you know my opinion on it, that's not gangster. A gangster, a real gangster don't even want to be noticed. A gangster ain't about killing people, it's about making money. That's what a gangster is. And here in St. Louis 2 years ago, we had 140 something children shot in the crossfire. That's just in the crossfire from these gangs shooting at each other. That's not gangster. A gangster would never do that. A gangster would never drive by somebody's house spraying bullets at them for a lot of reasons. One reason, if you don't think that it's morally wrong to spray bullets and having children get hit, then from a gangster point of view, it's a bad idea, because if you shoot a child, the police are going to look for you harder. Civilians are going to be more pissed off wanting to know who did it. It draws more heat on you. It's not gangster. Also, it's not gangster driving by spraying bullets at somebody because there's a chance you're not going to kill them. A gangster will not advertise that he's going to kill that person. He'll just put 2 bullets behind his ear. He'll make sure he's dead before he walks off. He's not going to drive by and spray bullets and maybe not kill that person, because now that person is alerted that you're trying to kill him. And something like that, it doesn't take much putting your ear to the streets to find out who pulled the trigger. A gangster, if they have to kill somebody, they'd rather not. They just want to make their money. But unfortunately, with money, you got people that try to take it or they don't want to pay it. So I guess sometimes a gangster might have to do that. But he's not going to drive by a house spraying bullets where innocent people can get hit and where he might not kill the person he's trying to kill. That's not gangster. A gangster's about making the greenbacks and not being known, staying under the radar, taking care of business in a way that innocent people don't get hurt, innocent children don't get hurt. They don't want innocent children to get hurt because that draws heat on themselves. And a real gangster don't even want you knowing he's a gangster. And that's facts. I've met some real gangsters. I mean, real gangsters. People connected to real gangsters bought my son's baptism outfit out in Tucson. I've met real gangsters. And that's all I'm going to say about that. As real as they get. And they were most definitely real gangsters because when I first met them, just seemed like regular guys to me. That's a real gangster. Somebody drives by spraying bullets. 140 something children just in St. Louis last year were hit with stray bullets and gang wars here. That's not gangster. That's thug is what that is. A real gangster, like say the mafia or something, they would never want to hurt a children. Never would they want to hurt children. That would be an abomination to them to hurt a child. You could bet in a real mafia organization, you hurt a child, there's going to be repercussions for that. They take family very seriously. But a real gangster don't go around doing all that shit. And if a real gangster wants you dead, you won't know it. You'll be alive 1 minute and you'll be dead the next, and it'll probably be your best friend that takes you out. But they don't go by spraying bullets at people. They try to cut down on. So that's the difference between a motorcycle club and a street gang. Very rarely do civilians get hurt when motorcycle clubs are going at each other. Very rarely. They don't like civilian casualties because that draws heat on them. And believe me, a lot of guys I know in motorcycle clubs, a lot of them are veterans. And they know how to use weapons, explosives, all kinds of things, and they know how to use them very well. They were taught by Uncle Sam. And they don't want civilian casualties. They don't want to kill somebody that's not a part of that lifestyle. Because when innocent people get killed, it turns out real bad for them. Because that means now you've got more police coming for you. Man, these roads are bad. I'm going to get off here. These roads are so bad. But yeah, that's what a winter is to me. In my younger days, most definitely I was a loser. And I didn't get mad at this young lady that said that. I didn't like it. because I think I've recovered pretty nicely. I've got a good heart. I'm there for people when they need me. My children all love me. My wife loves me. And I worked my ass off to raise my kids. Am I rich? No. Not rich. Not handsome. But I'm not a loser. I did the best I could. I started out really rough. And I turned my life around. And I became a better human being.